Thank you, everyone, for joining us at themixisalmostperfect.com. We are here with Laure, and she is a audio engineer, and she has some awesome input. We were going to start talking about essentially when you walk into a job and all of a sudden things are not the way that they were supposed to be. Things have changed, and it can be a little frustrating at times.
Oh, yes, it can.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started audio engineering when I was in college. It started as a part-time job, on-campus position, And I worked at Joliet Junior College.
Sure.
I was the campus sound engineer. I did everything from Siskel and Ebert, Mark Russell, various plays, graduations.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And how many years in the business?
Oh, well, like I said, most things have been college jobs. About 7 or so. That's
awesome. So you wanted to talk about, we wanted to talk about when you walk into a job. I mean, so tell me one of your stories. I mean, how do you get through a situation like this? What goes through your head, and you're like, when you're working, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, we're going to be changing everything.
Oh, yes. I was doing Siskel and Ebert, interesting. They're doing a talk show, basically, live, and I had another technician working lights. Well, he decided to warm up my soundboard for me.
Sure.
It's like he overheated my soundboard.
Yeah.
I got halfway through the performance and it died. It's like, oh, this was a fiasco. Literal fiasco.
That is one of the rough. I've heard this story where it just dies out, and then, so what did you have to do to, like, what was the solution, I guess?
Well, I had a fan in my car, one of those plug-ins, and I ran a cord and I tried to cool it down as much as possible. Luckily, I got it down to workable temperature, and I looked at the guy, don't touch it. Don't ever touch it. And I fired it back up again, and we continued on with the show.
That's great.
But
I mean, you lucked out with that situation, because it can be a situation where, and then everyone, they seem, but well, it must be the engineer's fault. I mean, this was a technology issue. This was
yes, it was an old board.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes, this, like, everyone seems to, if you can hear it, it must have been the engineer's fault, like, and it's not always the truth. I mean, I know that our industry, redundancy.
No,
but
yes.
But if you're in a situation like, a rental job, and they only bring one board, which I feel like even with redundancy, people still only bring in that many. They don't always bring in 2 boards or 2 of these, especially with certain jobs, and then all of a sudden now we need it, or we don't have it. So yeah, I've definitely heard this story before. I mean, heck, I've heard it where someone's opened up one of the boards before, and it just, oh man, I guess we're just gonna have to sum a bunch of things right into 8 of the channels, because part of the soundboard has gone out. Oh, does someone have? Well, we have this other board, and now you're running like two boards, and they're like summing into. Those are the worst situations, but to get through it is the most important part, like perseverance and keeping your cool. I know, any of the viewers that are engineers know that if you can keep your calm, especially with a client, they are way more calm. If you can look at them in the face and say, listen, we're working through it. I'm talking to my producer. We are working through it, so give us a couple minutes to evaluate the situation so we can take care of the problem. I mean, that's one of the big parts that I feel makes someone that's seasoned versus unseasoned as an engineer. Sometimes to get crazy around a job, like I'm sure it just upsets people, and it's best to just say, hey, this is what's going on.
Craziness breeds craziness. The whole thing collapses.
Yeah, I've seen people where they lose their crap, and I'm like, why? Guys, there's nothing, there's absolutely nothing we can do right now, so we have to wait until a new board comes. Well, the show's in 20 minutes. You're right. Someone wait at the dock, and when it comes, get us, so that is definitely, what is another what's another situation that you've had to go through? So you said there's a board issue. What about let's see, so you have changes, so that was obviously a situation that was out of your control when it comes down to technology. If I may ask, by the way, what kind of board kind of overheated?
Oh, it was the main cooling fan. It just stopped working. It's like, oh, great. Now everything's big fried.
What kind of board was it? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I don't. I know it was a 12-channel. It was a behemoth. My God, it was like, almost 20 inches across. It's like big board.
Oh, awesome. And it was a, if I never asked, but was it a digital board or was it an analog?
No, basically an analog.
Analog, okay. All right. Yeah, no, those can get very warm, especially if they're not heated correctly. Well, so what about other, I would say, so that was obviously a technology situation that you obviously came across. What about when a producer or a client or a salesman say, hey, listen, we're going to have to add like X situation, like is there a situation that you had to go through doing that, where all of a sudden they're like, well, hey, listen, we got to add all this stuff. Oh, that's in about an hour. Oh, okay. I guess we have time for barely that.
I don't know how familiar you are with the comedian Mark Russell. Mark Russell was a political satirist before political satirism became popular.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not fully aware, but please, love to hear.
He's been very big on PBS.
Okay.
He always do a pre-election show, and he's always big on his costumings and music. And it's like, okay. I know what you do. I don't know what you're going to do here. By this time I moved over to a different college.
Sure.
So there again, I picked up the same gig. But it's like, I don't know what you're going to do, but I know what you do. So I had to make sure I had at least a floor mic.
Sure.
The guy tap dances. A floor mic.
No, that's awesome. You know what? Those are always fun. I like sometimes putting in some of those kind of microphones. It makes it's different. It's I would almost call it like if you've ever dealt with theatrical. There's always specials. I always call those microphones the same as lights. Specials. Special effects.
Yeah. Not everybody uses them. You got to have it when you need it, but you shelve it for months, years at a time. But the point is that it is like, okay, fine.
Yeah, no.
Get to the point where he was going. I didn't know if he was going to tap dance or not because that's what he does. So I had his floor mic down there. It's like, okay, good. I'm ready for him. He didn't tap dance. Okay, that was
well, that only took me like 2 hours to run like all the cable and all that stuff. And
yeah, okay. Right. Because I had this giant snake coming down from the stage. It just got
for one channel, huge giant snake for one channel. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate running. If I don't have to run a snake, I try not to run a snake. But you know what? I'm sure have you dealt with any of those digital snakes that's come out with all these new boards? I mean, those are a miracle worker that you can run like one, Cat 6 cable, and all of a sudden that's your whole snake. Oh man.
Wow.
That is the best. Like, think about it. You're running from back of house. You run one little network cable, and you just punch it in, plug it right into a stage box, and boom, your whole snake is like a little cat cable. It's the most amazing thing that So.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was doing this in the '80s, so a lot of this new technology is like fabulous, but I never got to work with it.
No, you know what? I'll definitely send you some info if you'd like about some digital boards. It's definitely, I suppose, since you've done a lot of analog, and me too. When I started, I did a lot of analog, and it was very, how can I say, with the digital, it felt intimidating, and
oh yes.
And I think it was more the interface. I think when I learned, everything was, when I went to school and did a little bit of production work in Pro Tools 9, and then we had to do a lot of routing stuff involving analog boards. It was one of those things where I loved the analog because I love to like patch in, and like my studio, I have like a couple pieces of patch gear that I can actually plug in, and I don't know, it just feels like it's not as fun to just patch in something. But of course, the other, I guess, the draw up and the drawback, the draw up for it, I guess, would be you have a board and it has everything built into it, so you don't need a whole thing of rack gear. So
right.
So I just think that technology's getting there, and it's definitely.
Oh, definitely.
There's some, especially with the networking, it's unbelievable what you can do now with audio visual, and it blows my mind, especially with networking. I feel like everyone that's in this now needs to get into basic networking, at least intermediate networking. You don't have to be like a hacker, but just to set up a basic network for yourself. That's something that's pretty cool. Have you had to deal with any kind of like networking switching, like with as you said, you mostly do just audio, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that's cool.
I moved on to from there. I moved on to a company that made guitar tuners.
Oh, awesome!
Well, actually, tuners basically. The SC5000 from Peterson, Electromusical.
Sure.
That was my baby. I was the technician on it.
Oh, so you were the head technician on building them?
Well, I was in the maintenance and testing raw units off the line and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
really?
It's like customer orders, customer preps, and stuff like that.
More QCing everything to make sure things are
more hands-on technician. I mean, if there's a problem with a channel, you have to bit chase it all the way down.
Okay.
And it's like, they were phenomenal. I mean, within 1/10 of a cent of accuracy. Really? It's like fabulous.
Really?
From what I hear, they got the next version up already.
I'm gonna have to check it out. You definitely get me the info, and I'd love to check it out. You know what? We should definitely do a segment on that if you're interested.
Sure.
I think our viewers would love to hear a whole thing on that. But hey, listen, I'm gonna let you go. it's been really nice. We will definitely have you on the show again. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm very happy that you got a chance to, get on. Just let everyone know. This is my name's Michael, and this is Laure. And please come on and check out themixisalmostperfect.com. We're gonna have some awesome segments, some new things that are coming out, and just have fun, guys, with your audiovisual and everything that involves the music industry and the hospitality industry and everything that involves networking. It's just a huge world of audiovisual and technical marvels that are coming out and are out at this time, especially with all the professionals. So thank you again, and hopefully we see you again. Guys, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you are liking everything. And if you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to talk about, please come check it out, okay? Themixisalmostperfect.com.